Pink was going to start playing. I didn't know what my walk-up song. I asked for Megan Thee Stallion. So anyway.
All right, let's get this started. So a quick agenda of where we're going to take you guys over the next 45 minutes. We're going to talk about who we are and what we do, a little overview of BigCommerce and our partner ecosystem. Then the meat of the presentation will really be about our enablement philosophy and then the strategies or the 4 enablement building blocks. So my name is Devin Plopper. I am the Senior Strategic Partner Enablement Manager, which is a mouthful to say I'm responsible for BigCommerce to partner training.
Yeah, hi everybody, my name is Bessie Howarth. I'm a Senior Manager of Partnership Experience at BigCommerce. It kind of is a wide range of things. We cover everything from in-partner administration, internal education, to mass partner communications, and no, that rhyme was not intended. Yeah. Oh my gosh, look at me. We are cruising through this. So, Devin attended this conference last year, and she talked a lot about how when people started to present, she really wanted some context around who was talking to them and why. So if you're asking yourself, if you're out there and you don't know who BigCommerce is and what we do, I'd love to set the stage for you. We are an enterprise open SaaS e-commerce platform. We believe that modern SaaS platforms should fit your business, not the other way around. BigCommerce simplifies e-commerce to engage, attract, and convert more shoppers, expanding our merchants' business faster with less complexity, and we offer freedom of choice at a lower cost than our competitors in market. So we're the best fit for B2B and B2C, as Tiffany said, B2E, brands that want to modernize and scale. We're part of the MOC Alliance to ensure and enhance adoption of composable infrastructures. We are enterprise e-commerce simplified. That's BigCommerce. What makes all of this possible is what's on this slide. It's our unwavering commitment to our partner ecosystems, which is where we come in. Eva and John, I am going to pick on y'all. Will y'all please stand up? This is also part of our BigCommerce team. So while our slides aren't showing.
Yeah, I was like, I can see them down here, but I just realized I do not see them on the multiply. We promise there's been slides that back up everything that we're saying.
We're getting there. That's okay. Anyway, so y'all just met Eva and John. Some fun facts about John. Just kidding. So Eva and John head up our agency enablement team, and we head up our tech partner enablement team and our internal enablement. So what you can see on our slide, we have it. Oh, kind of rolling with the punches, people. I think we need to keep going. Okay. So what you can see here is, like I said, our unwavering commitment to our partner ecosystems. We power with the most powerful agency and tech partners in the world to give our merchants the modern e-com platform of their dreams. And so here's how we keep those partners engaged as part of the flywheel of this business. We, the 4 of us, have a global team's reach. We bring a holistic point of view to our partner ecosystem. So we have growth consultants that are responsible for sending referrals to our partners, and our agency team who are responsible for partners sending business to us. So like I said, I already had John and Eva stand up. While we get some of this slide stuff figured out, I would love to hear, we're going to preach a lot about the importance of relevance in your content. How do you make sure that you are being significant to the person that you're talking about? It's hard to do when we don't know who's in the audience, right? So I'd love to see, show of hands, who has more than 500 employees at their company? Okay, keep them raised. More than 1,000? More than 2,000? More than 5,000? More than 10,000? Oh, wow. She employs the world. Yes, the entire state of Florida. I love it. Amazing. Yeah. So, like I said, it's really important to know the size of businesses that you're speaking to in order to make sure that you are being relevant and engaging to that audience. So now you've learned a little bit about who we are, where we're from, what we do. We'll make sure that we run through this slide again later in the presentation, but we can really hopefully get into the meat and potatoes of this presentation. The Miami version, I think, would be a Cubano and a tequila, but we can, talk about that later. So, right. Deb, you want to take a seat and see if we can?
Yes. Okay.
We're going to make this work.
So I think to kind of get us kicked off today, I think when I tell people what I do, I always say you have to learn how to explain to your grandparents like what you do in tech, because they're like, what do you do? You talk to people on a computer? I think the biggest difference between enablement and training is that training is really just learning, like general knowledge share, like learning something, you're doing something to upskill yourself. Enablement is about teaching people specific things about what they're trying to accomplish so they can do their job better. It's way more about like really honing it in instead of just saying, hey, here's a bunch of really interesting packs. Pick out the things that are most interesting for you. So in terms of our enablement philosophy, and we're going to be talking about kind of internal and external enablement. So Bessie's going to be, most of her comments will be about like the internal perspective, enabling people within your organization. And I'm going to be talking more about your enablement to an external part of your organization. So we say enablement is about empowering people to excel at their given initiatives. So are you enabling a CSM team that's trying to keep up like churn from going out of control? Are you enabling people to sell and like bring in more customers? Are you working with people that are account managers and that are there for upselling? You know, really paying attention to what people are responsible for. All right. Well, I shouldn't click through because it's not changing. I think so. With that as kind of the core of the enablement philosophy, the next piece is kind of our building blocks. So the way that I kind of, when we put this presentation together, I was really evaluating what I do when I'm enabling external partners. And like Bessie had said, we have a ton of different partners. We have over 5,000 technology partners, and I normally work with about 100. So, I have to go in and learn like what their company is and what our initiatives are that we're doing with them. Like I kind of have to become a mini, really quick subject matter expert on what they're trying to accomplish. And so the first like foundational piece of those 4 building blocks is relevance. You have to know what you're telling them actually matters. So when we were talking about putting together this conversation for you guys, it was also, like Bessie said, I attended last year. So there's so many different companies represented here with different types of channel programs. So we're intentionally keeping this pretty broad. But I think, again, the foundational building block is relevance. And then we have engagement, which means are people engaged? If you have taken the time to make sure that what you're saying is relevant to your audience, they should be engaged. They should be paying attention. And then the next piece is empowerment. So if you have people engaged with your content, the next level of empowerment is that they know what to do with what you're telling them. And then finally is scale. So things that you've taken the time to be relevant, to get people engaged, to get them to understand that what you're teaching them or sharing with them actually does to improve their job. And then you're able to iterate and change on that. So obviously, in partner is a really important part of scaling that for us. A lot of what I'm doing is that one-to-one or one-to-many, where I'm coming in and I'm talking to a team of 30 or 50 or 200 over Zoom or Google Meet. And then I am able to either take that recording or share that deck. I can pull pieces out of what we've done and share it in the partner portal content library. That's that scale piece.
What I find hysterical, and I feel like we're on like some, candid camera situation, is that these slides aren't working, and we're just like having to like really riff all of this on like all of our rehearsals and things like that. So I think that it's a really hilarious show of showing that you have to pay attention to your audience. You have to see what's going on around you, right? A lot of us do a lot of things virtually. And what that means is you can go cameras off, baby. And a lot of the time, that means somebody's cooking lunch. All of us have done it, right? We've been there. We get it. Sometimes you don't feel great. But when you're really trying to enable somebody, like Devin said, that's different than training, right? We're trying to have people excel at what their business strategies are, right? And so making sure that you're paying attention to people, right? Paying attention to how many people are walking out, how many people are coming in, things like that. And, when slides don't work, we roll with it. So let's start with relevance, and we'll kind of go into that a little bit. One thing from the internal enablement perspective that I say a lot is audience-centric precision, right? You've got to stop trying to boil the ocean. Like Tiffany said earlier, every single team is going to have different business needs, and it's really important to work your way through the organization, starting with leadership, going all the way down to those people that are tactically pushing the buttons. We talked about moving those 6 clicks from the customer into your organization. Who are those people doing those 6 clicks, and how can you make their life better, right? So I think that that's the thing for me when it comes to relevance, is trying to make sure that every single time that you're speaking, that you're saying something significant to them so that they can then use it and move forward in their lives and work.
Yeah, and in terms of external enablement, something that I have learned again and again through like some failures, but mostly successes at this point, is that you also, to be relevant, you can't just talk to the channel manager at your partners to know what they need, because sometimes they're not talking to the leadership of the team that you're enabling. I have a really good example of a banking partner that we were working with, And we had built up this entire objection handling workshop. And we talked to the partner manager on our side, the partner manager on my side, and we built out this whole thing. And I have it set up where we're in breakout rooms. And I'm talking to the 5 gals that are in the room with me, and I could tell that I didn't have that engagement. I was kind of getting like deadpan looks, people weren't talking very much, and I just called out and I was like, I feel like what we're talking about here is not really landing. Like, is this not something you guys needed to learn about? And they all like took a huge sigh of relief and were like, no, we don't even know how to talk about e-commerce at all. We're not objection handling. I literally don't know how to talk about this with my clients to potentially sell like e-commerce to our banking clients. And I said, oh, okay, all right. Well, I'm gonna scrap this thing that we wasted a month upon apparently building out. And I went back to the main room, and everyone really appreciated that I didn't just waste their time. So the relevance thing is also about like valuing other people's time, because people take, like Tiffany was saying in the keynote speech, like the 12 changes instead of 6 a year, like people are constantly getting people asking them, hey, especially like the CS teams, hey, we need you to understand this, and we need you to do this, and we need you to upsell this, and we need you to like change constantly. So I feel like especially when you're enabling other teams outside of your organization or inside, you really need to know and understand what they care about. So they really appreciated that I strapped that, and I was like, hold on, I've got another presentation that I can bring up and we can talk about this. And it ended up being a really successful enablement because they noticed that I wasn't just going to go on autopilot, that I actually took the time to say, all right, what we talked about here did not land, let's try again. And we spent the rest of the 45 minutes actually having a really productive conversation. Things were taken away for both partner managers. But one of the things I took away was, I need to talk to the manager, the frontline manager of the team that I'm talking to on the partner side, because sometimes there's a game of telephone. We all know this within our own organizations, but it happens even more dramatically from the channel side, that if you don't know what someone's talking about, it's really easy to miss that relevance piece, and if you're missing that, then you're not going to be able to be successful kind of across the board. Oh, yes, are we?
We're almost there.
Okay, I was like, we can kind of see it, there's the building blocks right here.
Yeah, I think that using people's time effectively is a really fun thing to unpack because, because we don't get to choose that, right? We don't get to make that decision. That's up to our audience, whether or not we're using their time effectively. I'm one of 5 kids. I grew up in Mississippi. I'm a middle child, so I talk really loud. I talk really fast. That is how I am as a person. But when I'm talking to different audiences, I really have to see that sometimes my body language can be really off-putting to a certain audience within my own organization. And that means I need to, listen, do a lot more of that engagement, and that shows them that I'm here for them and that I want to hear what their challenges are so that I can better help them and enable them with, again, their business given initiatives. So like I said, sometimes it comes down to your style of presenting as well. What is your brand when you're talking to those external partners? And then when you're talking with internal teams, what are those things that you need to do? Again, if I'm talking to an outbound sales team, my pitch and my energy is going to be very different than if I'm talking to a group of solutions architects.
I'm going to actually pop back to this slide again because I think there's something I want to cover here on this relevance piece too. And you've seen me switching between saying channel partner and partner ecosystem, and people say merchant or people say customer. It's also really important to talk to your partner team on the other side. How do you talk about this? Because some people don't say merchant, or what's a merchant, or it's a customer. Every company has different coded language that you need to make sure you're talking to externally that team and use the language that they would use. I always think that's really important, even within your own organization or others. Don't jam a square peg in a round hole. Don't make them come and try and learn your language. I think actually it's really great what Tiffany said in the keynote too. It's that customer experience, make it easy for them. You do the work to make it easy for the teams to understand what you want them to accomplish. So again, these building blocks, I think they build all on each other, and you really can't do any of them without the other. But that relevance piece is that research, it's taking the time, and honestly, I think it really shows when you do. People can really tell if you are phoning it in or not, and you are just if you're gonna do that, just send a recording of yourself, which isn't always bad, but it lands differently from an emotional standpoint than if you actually took the time to do something. All right. The last thing here that on point 4 is presentations put people in audience mode. This is the time where I tell you we love questions. So please, if you have questions about enablement in your organization, we would love to answer them at the end, or hopefully try to answer them. But we want people to pay attention. We say integrate polls, competition, prizes. If you're enabling a sales team, people love spiffs. If your company can say, hey, if you answer this, they can send a $25 Amazon gift card. You're actually getting it, these little things actually get people to pay attention. And then I just say use tools at your disposal to get and keep people engaged. I understand it depends on what kind of organization you have, of what tools you can use, because if you're a bank, there's certain things that you're not allowed to do. Or internally, maybe you're not allowed to do spiffs for certain teams. You can get really creative, hey, can we fund a lunch for your team internally? Make sure they know that you try to say, hey, we appreciate you taking the time to do this, even if you were forced to come to it, that we appreciate you coming. When we did an enablement at our SKO a month ago, a couple weeks ago, and we had a group of people across 3 different teams that were definitely kind of in that audience mode. It was again kind of the first meeting of the day. And after, we didn't tell anyone that we were going to be doing a quiz. We used this app called Mentimeter, where everyone scans it and it picks it up on their phone and shows someone seeing some nods. And the room went from dead quiet, where's my coffee? I may have to go to the bathroom, I'm answering Slacks, to everyone's voice raised and people were paying attention.
Your body language changed, right? You saw people relax, you saw people yucking with their friends, right? Which is what you want out of your audience, right?
Yeah, and I think the other thing was, because I didn't tell anyone they were going to be questions or prizes, that everyone was all of a sudden oh crap, I wasn't paying attention. And we had the things go up and people remembered the things that they got wrong. And I think, again, making sure that people are paying attention, using whatever tools you have at your disposal, but if people are integrating, people integrate knowledge that they are actually using. So, if you are using something like a Lessonly internally, having people do takeaways. I worked with a partner of ours, another payments partner, and when I did the enablement with him externally, I worked with him to put together questions that that were directly going to be in their Lessonly format after the fact, so he could give a quiz and confirm and then resurface the learning after the fact as well. Scale.
All right, let's see. Okay, this is not matching this, so now this just got to expert mode. We were on hard mode originally, and now we're on expert. What we're talking about here is that feedback and efficacy loop, right? Every time that you are speaking with an external or an internal organization, you need to make sure that, like Devin's saying, that you're doing that feedback, whether that means it's a poll or a quiz or something like that at the end. Again, it helped us because people were oh crap, wasn't paying attention, and then they got some questions wrong, and they remembered that afterward, right? So you can deploy different strategies with that. If that means hey guys, you have a chance to win this spiff, or you have this chance, or something like that. Sometimes it's nice to just do a good old-fashioned pop quiz. So like I said, that feedback and efficacy loop is super, super important, and that's something that we do leverage in partner with our external organizations as well. So like I said, it's things like releasing those program resources. Again, if you've done your work in the relevance portion and you've talked to the leadership, you've talked to the tactical teams, you've talked with the management at your partner organization, things like that, you know what format they want their things in, right? Some people love a one-pager, right? Some people really like a quiz. Some people really like a slide deck. Some people, if you show them a slide deck, they immediately vomit. So, like I said, making sure that you know what is going to actually land with that audience is super important. And again, updates and refreshments as needed. Wow, this one is something that all of us can do such a better job at, myself included, as much as I don't want to admit it. But setting up workflows, things like that, so that every 6 months you are coming back and making sure that everything that you're saying in here is still true, it's still up to date. Like we've been saying, you get one chance to lose that person's trust, right? How many times do we give a website when we're shopping around, right? Again, we're in e-com, so we're constantly shopping online. A website has one chance to disappoint me with their experience, and then I'm not going back. right? So like I said, you as an enablement person in your profession, in your organization, you want to make sure that every time people are interacting with your content, that it is up to date. You want to keep almost, Devin is actually so good at this, I'm going to brag on her for a second. Before we've even released it to the company, all of her enablement materials are already up to date where possible, and so people try to catch her, right? They'll be like, oh, I'm going to make sure, and it's like, nope, Devin's already on it, right? Eva and John do the same thing. So, like I said, making sure that you are staying super up to date, and this comes down a lot of the time to your relationship with those internal stakeholders as well. You need to make sure that you're really in communications with your VP of product, whatever industry you may be in, to make sure that, again, when those releases are announced, your stuff's already done. You don't have to worry about it. It's done. It's there.
I think I'll keep like double clicking on the internal piece. Like when we say meet people where they are, that relevance thing, like we're an organization of around 1,500. I know people had raised their hands earlier. There's some teams internally that use GChat. There's some that use Slack. There's some people that love Confluence, and others that you couldn't ever get them in there even if you bribed them with $100. So like the scale piece is also when you've made something, it's don't wait for them to come to you. Put it anywhere and everywhere someone will look. Like, I think that's the first thing is, I have it in Google Drive. I have a link that will automatically update if I change something. I have it pinned to a top of a Slack channel. I make sure that the team, if they have a wiki page and that's where their manager sends them, they have that so they can put it there. Like, make sure you've just peppered it. Like, I come from sales before doing enablement, and part of the reason why I got interested in doing enablement because I had taken time for my sales team to not sell, to be listening to someone, and I remember being like, this was a total waste of time. Like, I should have taken this and made it 15 minutes, and then I wouldn't have taken them away from revenue generating activity. Like, ideally, if you're doing that well, like, people already feel like you're not wasting their time. Like, that's the relevance piece. And part of that is, hey, I've already taken the time to understand where you're looking, like, and I'm just going to put it there, making it super easy for you to find the information that you want. And even then, people will Slack you or message you or email you and ask, where is this thing? And you're like, I posted this 10 places, but I will send it again. But making sure you have it easily accessible is really important for that scale piece. So for our onboarding journeys, this is something that Eva and I both have gone through and updated ours as our partner program. We went and we changed a bunch of our stuff in our content library in the last 2 years. We changed our journeys. We've really gone in and made a lot of adjustments. We saw an increase of close to 175% increase in logins just because people are like, oh, this is actually being updated, or there's things I can actually send people from my team to go take the technical onboarding journey. Having trainings and certifications that we work with our learning and development team to get updated. Again, it's not easy, it's not automated, but if people log in and it's not useful and it's really hard to log a deal, guess what? They're not going back. And that is, it's a problem. I think the other thing as well is in partner with some of the, where you look, and I'll talk about this a little bit more on the next slide, you can see where people are clicking in your portal, just like you can with Confluence. If you use it internally, you can see where people are clicking in a heat map. You're selling your ideas internally. Make sure you're marketing what you're doing from a training perspective within your organization well. So when we have that scalable and custom piece, obviously this is talking about scale. I have custom in here because this is kind of my bread and butter in terms of what I do. That in-person training, personalized resources, custom trainings or recordings. You can use a lot of that custom work to push into that scale piece by putting it in places that your teams can look at, by updating it. I have put together these resources called sales toolkits where when I was sales manager, I remember being like, hey, this is great, it took 45 minutes, but my team isn't going to remember this because we did 3 other trainings with other channel partners in the last month. So just having a one sheet of what's the elevator pitch, how do I get in touch with the person that I need to from this channel partner organization, what's our shared Slack channel, who do I need to email, and then what are some competitive differentiators between BigCommerce and other platforms? Basically anything, if they're on the call with a client that they needed to click and be like, I don't remember anything, this is really easily accessible. Using that scale piece, taking what you've done and pushing it into more easily repeatable and usable resources.
Basically, enablement does not always have to be that hour-long, 90-minute meeting with everybody in a virtual room. It can take a lot of different approaches. It can take a lot of different forms.
I think also, like, that was one thing when I came into the role that I had said, coming from the sales manager mindset, is like, not every team has 30, 45 minutes to spend to learn about their channel partner. Ask if you can get 10 minutes to jump in their sales stand-up. Guess what? It'll keep your points super concise. You have to be really relevant. Make sure you did your research. But that's going to be more impactful sometimes because those people are on, they're paying attention, they're already there to get information that's necessary to do their jobs. Like, make sure that's also that kind of like meeting people where you're at. And if you prove that you're valuable enough to pay attention to, then maybe they will spend 45 minutes with you. But if you can't get that scheduled, offer something up that's a little more scalable. So kind of the 3 takeaways from what we were talking about is centering your learner's perspective. Like, I think, it's not using that coded language. It's paying attention to where they are in the sales funnel and cycle, whether they use the word customer or merchant, how they talk about themselves internally, making sure that you're coming at it with that beginner's mind around, like, what would this person that's taking this training feel like, and am I making it easy for them to understand? Anything you want to add on that one?
I don't think you nailed it.
Okay. So no relevance, no impact. This is the biggest one for me. People pay attention. They know if you're phoning it in and they're just like, I just woke up and I didn't do my research and I'm just talking about this. Like, you have to make sure that what you're saying to the people that are giving you their very, very valuable time is relevant. They will notice. And then the third one is have clear and actionable takeaways. And a shout out to John and Eva because we had them go through this presentation with us. And I was thinking it's kind of tricky for us because since everyone in this room has very different types of organizations to have those takeaways. But some of the things that we realized that were really valuable for us that we do on a regular basis that I think everyone in the room can do as well is log into your partner portal, make a fake account, go in and try and set up, take your onboarding journey. Be like, is this hard? Oh, did this like version history of this thing is not accurate?
How many clicks did it take?
How many clicks did it take? Yeah, was it easy for me to find? How hard is it to find my deal registration page for my partners? Like, is there a good banner? Actually walk through the onboarding journey and see what that looks like. I think that's like one of the biggest things. The second is we already kind of talked about, but the heat mapping. Pay attention to where people are looking in your partner portal. Is everyone just on the main page? It means that they really aren't that interested. They didn't click through anything else. You probably need to make some changes and find out who the last logins were. You can go and ask those people, like, why did they stop there? We just had rolled out something where I found there was like a bug in our onboarding journey, and we wouldn't have found out if we weren't asking people like why they stopped completing this journey on like the 3rd item in there. So go and check your journey statistics, see how many people have completed your trainings and your certifications and where they dropped out. The reporting it in Partner is really good where you can actually go through and see some of those things. And then finally, you've mentioned this before as well, but we have a workflow that we set up with our partner admin where it sends a notification after an asset is like 6 months old or stale, so we know, oh yeah, we do have an updated version of that marketing sent out, we need to change that. So I think those are the 3 kind of takeaways that I would hope would be valuable to everybody in the room.
Yeah, I think you
did it. I think we did it.
Do y'all have questions?
Yes.
Thank you. The yellow jacket is in the mail, what I heard. Okay, question. What's up?
So I have a little bit different business model. I do consulting, so I have a Copilot dashboard for all my clients where they can go in. You know, aside from having the Google Slides and stuff that we're working on together, I mean, what are like the relevant pieces of content, right? Like, what are you seeing that's more engaging for especially clients or partners that you're working with?
I'm trying to think. I think it's hard if like the delineation we have in our portal is like agency versus technology partner, but obviously there's so much. It is really hard to have that like pinpoint precision in our piece, but I think having the like little quick videos or those one sheets for things like, actually this is great, I didn't talk about our app guide. So we have like different parts of our ecosystem, they want to build apps. Sometimes they're agency partners, sometimes they're just technology partners, and our team gets an insane amount of requests about how to go through this process to do all these different things. So I would say pay attention to the things that people are asking you about on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
And build something like that. Like we had some login issues, and there's obviously multiple reasons how we've got this fixed over time, but we actually made a one sheet. So if someone was struggling, we literally just sent that one sheeter to them and they can resolve that on their own without going to a partner support ticket. So I would say, look at the things people are asking you in emails, asking you in your calls, and saying, well, how can I resolve this so I don't actually have to have an interaction about this? I guess it depends obviously on what you're trying to do, but I think that's kind of a good guiding light is, what's the thing that I'm getting asked about all the time that I want people to know already, and then put that front and center.
Yeah, I love the term Copilot dashboard. I think it's time to get super curious, talk to your people, right? See what they need in that moment, and where is the bottleneck, right? That's what I would say.
Devin, Bessie, maybe talk about how enablement can be a competitive differentiator. Obviously, your partners aren't just doing business with you.
Yep.
Do you find that enablement is a way to capture mind share?
Yeah, 100%. I think, again, if you're taking the time to be relevant and understand what team you're talking to, what they're trying to accomplish, there's obviously a lot of players in the e-commerce space. We pride ourselves on being a company where you actually can have someone from the partner perspective actually get on a phone call with you, jump on like a quick Google Meet and answer questions. And I think actually taking the time to come to your team and say, hey, I met your director of sales, or I talked to your L&D director about what you're trying to do. And the fact that you know what they're trying to accomplish, those are where we've seen people send more deals our way, because they know, hey, we can drop something in Slack and someone's actually going to answer it in our shared Slack, and we can get connected to our support team. There's just a lot of ways that you can build trust with partners in other organizations other than yours by actually showing up, getting them the information they need, being honest when they ask you something you don't know the answer to say, I don't know, but I can find out. Don't just half-ass the answer. I think that's a really important one. If you don't know, say, I'm not technical. I'm not a super technical person. I can talk about some stuff, but I'm not building someone's site. So I'll say, hey, I don't know, but I'm going to get on the phone with one of our solutions engineers and I'll get you that answer by Friday. Set realistic expectations. I think those things all build a lot of trust.
Absolutely, and I think too, if you're looking to build an enablement organization within your organization, a lot of the time we look at people from, an L&D perspective. We look at people with PMPs, things like that. We really want these super, super heavy pedigrees. What I find with enablement in every organization I've been a part of is that it's actually the people that can just wear a lot of hats, right? And that sounds like sort of, you're always part CEO and part janitor type of thing, but you've got to have these people that can be super dynamic, and that, like I said, it's called partnership after all, and that means that we're taking the time to learn what our partners need and getting them that custom enablement that Devin was talking about earlier. Like I said, we will, fly Devin out, make sure that she's speaking directly to John and Eva. They travel the world to get in front of partners to make sure that we are driving our message home and it's actually landing. There's nothing better than to be able to look at somebody and see that okay, I get it. Now I can actually go and have an actionable takeaway. I'm actually going to take action after this, and I do think it's a huge competitive differentiator for BigCommerce.
Yeah, I think one thing I'll also know, we were talking about this at dinner, paying attention to regional differences. I realize a lot of us with our partner programs in the room, you have partners in EMEA, you have partners in APAC, you have partners in the US, everyone works a little differently, and there's going to be different partners in those regions that have strengths and differences. Taking the time to build your content, I think to the first question as well, make sure you have content that is not just relevant to the problem to be solved, but is there something that's specific to a certain region as well. Our partner ecosystem, there are certain partners that are more favored in North America than it is in the UK versus Italy versus Germany. So paying attention to those small things also really matters for that building trust.
Hi. When you guys were talking about the relevance with partner journeys, for example, I know segmentation is a huge piece with audience, regions, etc. But when you say an onboarding journey, I'm just curious what you guys have done in the past or what you're doing currently with standardizing that, if you even do that for your different partner types. And then I think journeys is a great feature to go in depth with multiple segmentations and type of program. But specifically the onboarding journey, I've seen that standardized, but I also was curious what you've seen really work well for your program.
Absolutely. I am a stickler about onboarding. and no matter sort of what organization I'm working in, partner ecosystems, merchant ecosystems, anything like that, my thing is that it has to feel very high touch, but in reality be very low touch, right? Especially with the scale, we saw how large some of the companies are in this room. We don't have the time. There simply are. I don't care that I have as many hours in a day as Beyonce does. There simply are not enough hours in the day for us to be able to speak with every single partner that's coming on a daily basis. So like I said, our onboarding journey is really built around the idea of it wants to feel very high touch, and I think honestly that AI is changing that as well, right? It's really helping us make sure that it feels like you have somebody there hand holding you. Again, we all are consumers out there. We know what it feels like to onboard to a new platform, whether that's in business or personal, right? So making sure that you have somebody there, right? That it feels like you have somebody that you can ask that question to.
Yeah, I think specifically with our onboarding journeys or our segmentation, so we share a portal between our agency and our technology partner side, and part of the segmentation is us actually splitting that out. So we don't have the luxury of getting as pinpointed as we would like. I think that's something that we're really wanting to fix and change. We're definitely not perfect. There's a lot of things we want to fix. But within onboarding journeys that I have rebuilt and done this year, we have two kind of customer or partner profiles that log in on the tech side, and it is someone that's a little more developer heavy, someone that's more technically oriented, and then mostly that partner manager or maybe a salesperson. So we have a sales facing onboarding journey and a technical onboarding journey, and there's many things in both that could overlap with each other, but we want people to be able to self-source what they want to learn and click through. Removing the friction piece, I haven't made a lot of them required. I'm not making people download stuff. I want people to just be able to click through and see and find what they need.
Orient themselves, right?
Yeah.
We call it orientation, and that stratification between the tech persona and the strategic, VP of partnerships persona. And those are the people that we're servicing in our portal.
Yeah, so I think it's really just making it easy for people to find what they want to find in there, and then lowering the barrier to entry. If you have people that are really engaged and they need to be in the portal to get stuff, making someone download something is going to be important. But for us, for those, we definitely just have it check boxes.
All right, we got time for one more.
Yep. Hi. I was wondering what kind of triggers or parameters you look for when offering custom enablement offerings. That tends to be our channel manager's default lately, so I'm trying to create more scalable programs.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that it comes down, the almighty dollars, right? You've got to make sure that the people that you are giving these custom onboardings to, again, if we're going to fly Devin out to be face-to-face with somebody, it's got to be one of our partners that's driving the most top-line revenue for us, right? So that would be the first filter I would put it through, right? And then from there, you got to think about what partners you can grow with the most, right? And which ones have the most sort of where can I be? Here's where we are in 2024. Where am I going to be in 2026 or 2028 with this partner, right? And laying that foundation, I would say. So those would probably be the first two filters that I would put it through. Where are you today? Who's making the most money for you today? Let's pour gas on the fire where we can. And then who's that really promising cohort that's actually these people, if I were able to get in front of them, and it's just this one thing that I need to help them with, then from there they've got a huge runway in front of them. I think that that's a really important thing too for everybody's professional development too, is finding those strategic partners and pitching that to your senior leadership as well.
And before we get to Shepherd's Hook, I will say also, I think it's really important for the person that's requesting. I have a Google form. People don't always use it, but I have a set of questions that I'm asking that there's things that seem really urgent and be why is this important right now? Asking, hey, is the partner asking for this? Is this just something that you have in the contract that you have to fulfill?
100%.
Actually asking the deeper questions and then maybe getting with that frontline management and seeing how engaged they are. That can also help kind of filter out that secondary layer after what Bess has said.
Yeah, we always say, what's the question behind the question, right? So getting to that deeper thing. Thank you all so much for your time.